Okay viewers, so I'm moving on the project bike. So what I'm going to do today is I've got the wheel off the bike, obviously took the quick release out, and I'm going to take it apart here. Got a 15mm cone wrench to hold the cone nut in place, and I've just got a standard 17mm wrench that I'm going to put on here, and you just break it loose. Pretty simple. Spin the nut off, take it off and set it aside, and then we're left with the cone, and usually it's on easy enough. Yeah, we can just spin it off by hand. So what I've done is I've got a clean paper towel on the floor, so when I take things apart, the bearings are loose in there, and if you're not careful, they'll go falling off all over the place. You want to have a clean spot to catch them. Alright, so here is the cone coming off. There's the cone. Looks a little dry, and the bearings are in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn it over, lay it down, and I'm going to pull the axle out. And it looks okay. I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to take another tool and just push the bearings out through the bottom there. So I just take them with my tool and just kind of reach in there and knock them through the hole. It's pretty simple. Okay, so they're all out, and there they are on the floor. Got the same thing on this side. Alright, there they are. All the bearings are out. So then we'll just take and clean them up. So what I do is just go like this. I will examine them a little bit more carefully. You got to make sure, of course, there's no pitting. I mean, these look pretty good. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken my pick tool and a paper towel and just kind of rubbed it around in there to get all the old grease out. And so once you get that all cleaned up, then I'll take my new grease, and because it's kind of hard to get in there, I'll just squeeze out a glob and kind of just stick it in there with my tool to get a little base of grease around in there. Okay, so what I wanted to show you now is I've taken some of the grease like this and dabbed it inside to the bearing race surface in there. It's kind of hard to see, and it's kind of hard to get down in there. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't really get my finger in there. So I leave some grease on the tool and get enough on there to where I can just pick up one of these bearings on the end of my tool and just stick it down in there in the bed of grease. It's a bit tedious. You know, you might have to lop some grease on every one to pick one up, but you get them all in there. That's the key. Got the bearings in there. So how do you know if they're in there right, or you got enough? So what you do is you take the axle, and I've cleaned it up, and you just slide it through, push it down in there and give it a few turns, make sure it feels okay, pull it back out, and then just look at it carefully. Are all the bearings in there? Is there any left over? No, it's looking good. You just slide the axle back through, and then we'll come around to the other side, and I'll put the cone back on this side and screw it down. And then you go through the process of end play. This is the lock nut. So I'm going to get the lock nut on there if I can. So I'll spin the lock nut down. Now this is where it's crucial. So I can feel right there that that's a little too tight. That still feels a little bit tight to me. So I didn't quite get it right. So you just got to work it, you know, be a little patient. Takes a little back and forth with the tools. So I'm trying to hold it with my legs, which makes it a little harder. But just do what you got to do to get it so it spins freely and there's no end play. Alright, let me try that. I'm going to snug this one up. Let's see how that feels right there. Alright, that's pretty free. Don't feel any end play. So I think I've got it. Yeah, there's no end play and it's spinning freely. Alright, so I'm going to give it just a little bit more because I just got it a little bit snug. Now I really want to get it good and tight so it'll never come loose on me. Alright, there we go. That feels good. Spinning freely. And I'm not feeling any end play at all. Alright, so that's it. That one's greased up and ready to go back on the bike. And I'll go ahead and do the front one the same way. The front one's a bit easier because you don't have the gears to deal with over here. But it's the same basic process. Just take everything out, clean it off, put some grease in the races, put the bearings back in, put it back together, make sure your hub spins freely and there's no end play.